So my name is John. I'm the vice dean of the college. I work on our dean, Kartik, College of Welcome. That is this morning until 1:30, right, in the afternoon. The whole activities we planned for you to welcome you and also to make sure, right, there are some information we can share with you to have a good foundation, right, to start a successful kind of a career. 2 years here, right, and then long in the future. With that, I want to introduce our dean, Kartik Kannan. Kartik joined us not too long ago, 3 years ago, right? 4 years ago. This is my fifth year. Okay, it's coming fifth year. So Kartik got his PhD from Carnegie Mellon University, and then he has a lot of impactful research. Those are the areas, right? He's very well known for digital transformation, analysis of digital traces, and strategic foresight. Okay. Welcome, Impact.
Thank you, John. Appreciate the warm introduction. So I want to first thank a number of people who have put this event and made this successful. First, the grad team, a quick round of applause to them. And these are the folks who took care of you with regard to your applications, admissions. They will be helping you navigate through the career process and helping out with these events and other things to make you become part of Eller, even more become part of Eller, and make you successful as well. The second group I want to highlight here are the faculty members and the academic program staff members. Wave your hands. I see Anne, Deepak, and a few others right there. And so we have MIS. This is a joint effort put together by the grad team and the academic team. And the academic team is an important part of your success. So a quick round of applause for them. They help you. They help you with, if you have questions about classes, if you have, hey, what do I need to do? What kind of classes do I need to do in order for me to get this kind of a job? Those are the conversations they're going to help you manage and facilitate. And the rest of the Eller team as well. You know, I see Kiana, I saw Tom, and a few others, Eller staff members. I want you to just wave your hands. These are people. Kiana is right there. Thank you, Kiana. These are the folks that are helping you again manage these processes, getting the TV and everything going. By the way, that's a fantastic new TV that we put up. If you were in Eller, this is something you're seeing it for the first time. And audio then used to be terrible. Now it's getting a lot better. So we're excited about it. Every year, I like to start with the key message, right? Especially for the grad team. And people are coming in sometimes from Eller. They've graduated from their undergrad. They're going to join the master's degree. Some of them are coming from a different place. And I was talking with somebody who did her undergrad in BYU, Creighton, right? And you have people coming in from various places. And even different are people coming from Germany and Korea and places like that, countries, very, very different. So I like to leave a message for our grad students, and I keep that as ABC. And why do I do this? Because when you graduate, I'm going to ask you again, what do these ABCs mean, right? And only if you can answer this correctly, I'm going to give you a certificate. Right? So anyway, A is academics. You are here for the academic component, right? So you are going to be immersing yourself in marketing or accounting or MIS, whatever major you choose. The academic part of it, the A is the academic reference that I want to highlight here. I want you to be very sincere about the academic aspect. That is a key factor. In places like McKinsey, what do? They look at you and they say, hey, is the GPA about 3.8 or 3.7? They care about academics. The academics is important because it's signaling that you take care of your work seriously, right? It's about perseverance. It's about the elements that you need for your success. That's one part of it. The second one is B, right, which is the breadth. You are here and you might be looking at marketing or finance. What I want you to do is think a little bit more broadly about beyond just the finance or the marketing that you're going to be specializing in. I don't want you to get distracted, right? But at the same time, be aware of what you can bring to the table. Let me give you my own background. Just like how Jan mentioned, I have a PhD, but what I'm really proud of is the ability to connect. I did my undergrad in engineering. I'm in a business school. And the perspectives are very, very different. And so what I want you to think about is how can you broaden yourself out? It is important for you to be able to kind of see the forest. You might be working at the individual level, but you need to have the perspective about what your company is doing broadly. How is your action going to impact so many other components that affects the broad company? The more you are clear about it, the more you can talk about it, the better it is for you, right? And so academics, right? And C is the communication piece. And here at Eller, if you did your undergrad here at Eller, you know how much we've emphasized 314 or BCom 314. It builds you. And if you have not been at Eller, this is an important part of what your success is going to be. You need to be able to know how to communicate at the micro level, at the macro level. What do I mean by micro level? One-on-one. I'm talking to you, and you are seeing a picture of, as you're talking with somebody, or you're seeing a diploma of that individual. You need to be able to have these small chats. These are very important, and especially if you're coming from outside of the country, outside of the US, these small conversations have a big impact in creating a positive effect, right? And then from there, that spectrum evolves all the way to having a presentation. You're coming up and you are expected to give a presentation. The analysis that you've done may be incredibly great, but if you didn't deliver, it means nothing. So the three things I will ask you to remember: A, B, C, academics. I want each and every one of you to get and graduate with a 4.0 in your master's. B, breadth. Go and do stuff that you've not tried. How many of you have gone to the Mirror Lab? How many of you are aware of Mirror Lab? Right? If you know James Webb Telescope, have people heard of James Webb Telescope? 2 of the mirrors were made here in U of A. Similarly, if you have heard of going and collecting carbon particles from a meteor, that was done by U of A. So you have a lot of resources that you might not be even aware of. Go check those out, right? Our hydrology is one of the best departments. Our MIS is one of the best departments in the country. Our economics has some Nobel Prize winning person who did a seminal work here. And so you can't figure out the breadth and see communication. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jan. Great to see you all, and all the best for the new year. Remember, ABC.
Remember ABC, and that will be on the quiz today. Actually, I know the ABC is very important. I created my own version of the ABC. I call it 3, 4, 5. You'll see that later on, okay? But thank you. All right, thanks for the warm welcome and the inspiring speech. The next one is myself. I'm doing one segment, 2 purposes, right? One purpose is to let you know actually how the Eller College is organized to support you. Even though I know some of you have been here for undergrad, there are many other things you may have not been aware of, or you may have not been really needing to do, right? Because you are in one major in undergrad. For many people coming from outside, hopefully I can show the broader picture. Oh, where do I seek help if I need something with course registration? Where do I go for career services, right? So all these things I'll try to describe to better support you. Second is actually similar to what Carly was talking about. there are a lot of things at U of A that even I was not aware of. Some of the really high-achieving people, high-achieving units, they did so many things nationally and internationally important. Those things we should be proud of, right? So I try to cover some of those also in this short presentation. That's the purpose, two purposes, okay? So Eller, this is like a college of business or college of management, right, with a long history. We were one of the first colleges in the nation that offers a business undergrad degree from 1913. You know, we don't have numbers yet for this coming year. However, for last year, for the fall semester, we have altogether more than close to 7,000 students, right? 5,000 undergrads, 5,000 grads. So we are one of the largest kind of colleges, in business colleges in the nation. I think last year, some numbers, we're number 9 in the nation in terms of grad enrollment. Okay, so very influential and in terms of size and our reach out, right, in terms of alumni network. That's one thing you have to realize we have that, right? For jobs, for internships, we do have people not only in Arizona, but nationally and globally to help you. We have 7 academic departments. Each of you, I know some of you are doing dual degrees, right? So in that case, you are in 2 separate units. But here in the college, we have 7 units. Each is very strong in different ways. They have strong faculty, very strong programs, and also very strong staff team to help you be successful. And accounting, business analytics, econ, finance, M&O, MS, marketing, right? In addition to those, we have some of the other centers, like the McGuire Center. McGuire Center, they actually is also nationally ranked. The focus is on innovation and entrepreneurship, as many of you may have heard of, right? So, and we have some other centers and labs that are also nationally kind of ranked for many years. I just pick 2 things. I think this will surprise many of you. The AI lab downstairs on the 2nd floor. Sorry, on the 1st floor, this is the 2nd floor. Okay, so trying to figure out the travel. I taught in this room like 20 years ago. Okay, so the AI lab is operated and still run by a faculty in MS. His name is Xinchun Chen. The AI lab, even today, this was the first and even so far the only AI lab within a business school in the world. There are many AI labs, but they are outside of business school, right? So that's what you have as a unique resource. If you do AI courses, AI practice, AI certificates, and even to train some models, you have something here, right here in the building to help you. Okay, I think we should be very proud of that, you know. Second, the ESL, the Econ Science Lab. That was what Kartik, the dean, mentioned, right? So Ernest Smith, he started his whole career here. Downstairs there, and then did all this, we call this behavior economics, right? It combines economic science, math, and psychology, and behavior things, right? And he won Nobel Prize. The work was done here, in this building, right? So these are just 2 examples. There are many other kind of people and things we did that moved Eller to a very high level in the nation as a business school. Undergrad program, very quick on it, right? Just to let you know where you are in, right? Undergrad, we have large program. The structure is very unique, right? This is maybe you have friends, your family who has kids who just graduated from high school. Let them think about Eller for undergrad, right? We run this two structure, 2 foundation. So many of you have been through this, you know very well, right? And you go through a professional admission, get into upper level, right? This structure is not common in the nation. It's not common at all. Most schools, from freshman, you get into a major right away, right? And then for good or bad reasons, you stay with it, right? Here, we do have, you put foundation, and now you know better about what is being offered. You can choose, you can apply, right? So nationally, the 5 prominent schools doing this, these are only public schools I'm comparing with, right? Is us, It's Purdue, it's Berkeley, it's Virginia. Virginia is not Darton. Darton is grad school, right? This is McIntyre. It's also a very good school. And UW, Washington, in Seattle. So in that way, also very unique, right? Very kind of, I think, supportive structure for people to choose the right major, right? Imagine how many of you know your major when you were in high school. You have no idea. I have 3 kids, none of them know, even actually after getting to college, right? So I think that helps. And we have rankings, everything with undergrad, pretty good, very high nationally. Now, for our focus for the grad programs, altogether we have 10 in-person programs. You will all belong to one or two of them, right? On the left, and then on the right is online programs. One thing I want to mention is 1-year MBA. If you're in the MBA program, can you raise your hand, please? Good, okay, welcome, right? The 1-year MBA is new here. This is the second year running it, right? But you may not know, this is from my conversation in the morning with students there, right? Nationally, there are only 5 or 4 schools doing this successfully, and we are one of them. The other ones are Florida, Purdue, not Purdue, Michigan State, and Penn State, right? Yeah, so this is a very elite group of schools doing this. The purpose is that many people don't want to spend 2 years for MBA, right? Kind of away from the work, everything. So this is natural trend going on, right? With a shorter, more intense, immersive MBA program. So you're here, right? Like to help us make this even more successful. That's the program part. So the unit to support the study, like I said, I'm going to give you a broad structure so you can see how career services and different things are provided and by whom, okay? So from our perspective as students, if I'm here, I want to look at, who helps me to register for classes. And then when I make progress, make sure I have enough credits, right, to move on, to graduate. And then eventually, of course, get a good job that I want in a place, hopefully near my hometown, right? Whatever you prefer, you know. That's the eventual outcome. So these are 3 major steps. There are many smaller things, other things. For example, certain things with international visa, right? Those ones are also kind of does not apply to all, but it's also important. I don't have those here. This is within Eller, right? Those are handled by international student services. So for the first part, if you belong to the MBA program, we have 3 MBA programs, right? 4, one online, 3 in person. MBA programs are operated by the college, by the Eller College. We have a whole team of excellent staff, right? In the suite of graduate professional studies, right, which is led by Pamela, right? They serve MBA students. The courses, of course, are provided by faculty from different departments. But the academic home of MBA is college. And then we have many specialty programs, right? The morning I saw people from accounting, right? The 2 accounting programs, marketing, finance, right? Different people in the hallway. So those programs, they are operated mainly by the academic department. That's why if you're in finance, you have a lot of discussions, study plan, everything with Ant, right? So they manage your study plan and also the program in the program. The MBA is operated by the college. The college also provides overall operational support. For example, event like this is done by the college. Okay? That's the thing, right? So where do you seek? If you need help, information, that's where you go for. Career services, we have a dedicated college team. It's located within the grad program studies suite down there. There are career coaches assigned to your program, right? They specialize in your area to help you, right, train and do interviews and get jobs. That's the broad structure of programs. Any questions about this? Issues, who do I seek help from? Maybe it's too early. In the program, okay. Right. On Monday, the class starts. Review this, and any questions, now you know who to ask. Okay. So my advice, like I said, I try to come up with a thing similar to Kartik's ABC. I have 3, 4, 5. Okay. Again, for the easiness to remember. Okay. I'm hoping, no matter if you're here for 1 year, or for 1.5 year, or for 2 years. Actually, not too long beyond that. Okay. Graduate on time. Okay. I hope you can do these 3 things. Targets, right? So one is, on top of everything you're doing, you have to do, right? Study well, stay safe, stay healthy, protect all the things you have to do, right? Try to have 3 engaging conversations, right? Engaging conversation with 3 other professors. Ideally, outside of the area you're studying. So if I study finance, I mean, naturally I talk with finance professors, right? But I'm hoping in the 1 or 2 years, you came to know and have discussions on academics, on careers, on anything with professors from accounting, from marketing, right? So for the same reason, you broaden your knowledge base and you see more opportunities and needs that you can build up and more resources for you. Maybe the person in accounting will write you a very strong letter, right? So that is one thing. At least 3 professors, hopefully outside your department, your degree, you can engage in conversations. Make sense? That's the 3, okay? 4, participate in at least 4 major career events. We organized this. So Wendy was here, I think at the beginning. So the PDC organized career services very well. Sometimes the issue is, okay, my schedule had this challenge, I cannot attend. Plan ahead, try to attend those, right? And then even beyond that, there are some other career events and community events, right, that can be very helpful, right? So just be more proactive and participate, you know. At the same time, you're building something for yourself. You're also being the ambassador for others to be them, right? Because we do have confidence in our students to be good representatives of our college, and you can help us build another brand by doing those things. The 5, this is beyond study, right? I hope you can try to attend at least 5 social, cultural, entertainment events, right? Sports, right? No matter football, whatever, right? UFA and Tucson and Arizona is a great place to be, to live, to study. How to use it? You know, build the bond and enjoy. That makes your study even easier, right? So that's a 3, 4, and 5. This will be tested after lunch, okay? So remember it. Okay, that's my little segment as an overview. Any questions? Okay. So now maybe we move on to the next section. We have 3 faculty members, myself included, to present the research. This research, this is our, as a professor, right? We teach with 4 students, we also do research. This is a big part of life. And the purpose of doing this is to again give you exposure to what are really the unknowns that people in companies, people in the society, they want answers. And then we help them address those. Okay. So we have 3 presentations. First one, let me introduce Jan Sender. Jan is our W. H.S. Lopez Chair in Accounting. She was the school director. She is school director now. She was a vice dean for college before. She graduated from NYU and working on financial reporting, capital markets, debt contracting, and compensation contracting. Thank you.
So hello everyone, and welcome to Eller. And I know a lot of the accounting students are coming back, so welcome back. I'm Jayanti Sundar, and I'm a professor in the Dhaliwal Reedy School of Accountancy. Now that's quite a mouthful, so we just say DRSOA. So if that's what you hear, it's the accounting department. So what I wanted to talk with you about is one of my recent research projects, which looks at whether accounting disclosures can crack the glass ceiling. Now, over the years, a widely held belief, and I bought into it too, is that careers in accounting and finance, the professions were very gendered. So they were very male dominated. And if you look at the statistics, women entered accounting in large numbers. It is almost 50-50, women and men entering accounting. But when you look at the senior level, so at the partner level, only 20% of partners, less than 20%, are female, right? So somewhere along the way, the female auditors are dropping out of the spotlight, right? And I believe that to be a reality. But then there's something that in more recent years, over time, I started to feel that there was a little bit of a disconnect. We were graduating students, female students, who were equally smart, equally driven, equally motivated, and then they would come back to campus for our recruiting events or some other event, and they were thriving in their professions, right? They were thriving in the firms. They were doing well, they were happy, they were successful, and so I began to wonder. And then around the Me Too movement, the conversation about women in the workplace started to change, right? And so you started hearing these stories, but then anecdotal evidence, anecdotes are not evidence, right? And so I started to think whether research was asking the wrong question, right? So over time, we had all this evidence about women in the accounting profession, but that was based on a survey at a point in time, or they were pulling data over multiple decades and coming to this conclusion. But the path to partner from when you start a firm is at least 15 years. So when we look at that 20% of female partners, these are people who started their careers more than 15 years ago, maybe 20, 30 years ago, right? And so I started to wonder whether we were asking the right question. And this snapshot of how many females are there at different levels is not telling us the whole story. So let me give you an example. Let's say you have a snapshot of a marathon race, okay? So you can tell at that point in time who is leading, who's first, who's second, who's third. What you cannot tell from that picture is who is gaining ground, who is slowing down, who is likely to overtake whom, right? So for that you need the movie. And maybe the problem with our accounting research or the articles that have been written about it was we were getting a snapshot of men and women in the accounting profession, and we needed the movie, right? So we started to ask, my co-authors and I started to ask, have things changed, right? So are female auditors being promoted, retained first, they need to be kept in the firm, and then having retained the female auditor, are they being promoted at higher rates in recent years? And if so, what's driving this change, right? So we followed the careers of 150,000 unique auditors who worked at some point in a Big Four firm. And by that I mean Deloitte, PwC, EY, KPMG, right? And we looked at what was happening to their retention rates first. And what you see in the graph, the two maps, I was only allowed 3 slides, and so I had to squeeze the graph in. And so when you look at the map with the oranges on the left, this was pre-2010. It's actually here pre-2015. So before 2010 in the data, what we saw was there was a gender gap, adverse gender gap for women. So women were being retained in the audit firms at significantly lower rates than men. Around 2010, something started to change and that gap started to narrow. And surprisingly, after 2015, it flipped. And women were being retained in audit firms at higher rates than men. And so that's the blue There's a stubborn orange even in that other map, but that's the blue shades where women were retained at higher rates. Sorry. And so we were starting to look at what was driving this, right? So the client, around that time there was a lot of social, societal conversations around equitable outcomes for women in the workplace. And so clients were demanding more diversity. People were paying attention to diversity in the workplace. But the real impetus came from an accounting regulation. This was the disclosure of Form AP, right? As boring as that sounds. So before Form AP, we could tell which public companies were being audited by which audit firms. But Form AP required the audit firms to reveal the identity of the lead engagement partner. So now you could tell who was the partner doing the audit for these public companies. Clients started to pay attention to this, investors started to pay attention, journalists started to pay attention, prospective employees started to pay attention, right? And so the firms had to change their behavior. And so what was the important thing was this Form AP served as a transparency mechanism. So even though there was societal demand for change, it's only when you had that transparency mechanism that shed light on the practices of these audit firms, you actually started to see a difference in change in their behavior. But as researchers, we don't just accept this and move on, right? We have to, how do we know for sure this is because of Form AP? I mean, you never know for sure, but you need to provide stronger evidence. And so what we did was we compared the outcomes for women in investment banking, another gendered profession, with the career outcomes for women in audit. So what was the difference? Both of them faced the same societal pressure for equitable outcomes for women in the profession. But one had the transparency mechanism, audit, with the Form AP, whereas the investment banking firms did not have that same transparency mechanism. And what we see is the red line is the investment banks, the zero across is the difference, what we're tracking is the difference between retention rates of women minus men, right? As I said before, for the audit firms, the blue line, it started to increase, and actually after 2015 became positive, which means women were retained at a higher rate, whereas for the investment banking firms, it did not budge, right? So it is for societal pressure or to be effective, we need a transparency mechanism. So the takeaway from our study for you guys, I would say, is the takeaway goes beyond gender, right? The point that I want to make is transparency is important to change organizational behavior and to hold companies accountable. Right? And accounting plays a very important role in providing this transparency mechanism and helps keep the economy honest. So that's my plug for accounting.
So two things, right? One is many of this will be more or less talk about in your classroom. This matters for the profession, for the client, and for you, right? As a person who will be in the profession, Second, at some point, some of you might be interested in pursuing a research career. Maybe in the companies, maybe actually coming back to do a PhD, So this is the other purpose of today, this segment, right? Give you more exposure to what is being done, right, in the research space, not only practice space, research space in business, okay? So before mine, so that's me, okay. Remain on your seat. You can stand up if you want. I want to take maybe 1 minute to let you relax, but do a little more thing, okay? Look around you. If there's 1 or 2 people you have not said hi or good morning yet, do that. I'll give you 1 minute to do that. Okay? Know each other. So studying for college, but my exact home is in marketing and also in business analytics. So I do things that spans these two areas. I got my PhD from UBC, which is in Vancouver, Canada. 5 years there, so that was one of the best part of my life so far. Tucson is also great. We like here. We've been here for 20 years, right? So 3 kids, they all enjoyed here a lot. So the research I want to present. How many of you play video games? The other ones are not playing, or you're not showing your hands. I'm pretty sure in this audience, maybe 85, 95% actually play, right? Myself included. I'm not as engaged as my son playing it all the time, but we do it, right? So this research is about people's behavior in the virtual kind of world, which is play video games, right? No matter what platform, right? And then how do I think about things happening in the real world to impact your virtual behavior? Okay, there has been research talking about I play video games that impacts my real behavior. People have done that, and we know those things. But we don't know if something happens in the real world, how does that create opportunities or challenges for companies in the virtual kind of business world? That's the purpose. And then the background is video games. Video games at this point, from 2025, is now the number 1, number 2, right? One of the largest sector in entertainment. In terms of sales, it's almost the same as home entertainment. That's streaming TV and movies, right? And then much larger than music. Music includes recorded, live, together, number 3. And then movies, last piece is movies and theaters, right? So very important kind of industry, matters in terms of economic scale and also our lives as consumer. One observation, this is how we start research, right? For James' research, just observed the change of female, right, executives being promoted or not, right? That's her observation. My observation is that many video games, even though it's virtual, it has a real world factor. It's all built on real things, right? So just some examples from top-selling games. Call of Duty, right? This is the war, shooting, right? All this kind of setup and skills. Minecraft, of course, is movies, construction, building, and sports, animals, right? Gardening, landscaping, all these things. So all these video games have a real life background. That's where I wonder for the research, right? If something happens in the real world, does that impact my behavior virtually? Right? That's the thing. You can say there are many things is giving a yes answer, but also remember these two worlds can be disconnected. Right? Like my son never knows what's happening in the real world. I mean, he's accounting student. He was from here, right? But he's doing okay, right? Just example, okay? So my thing is, from a large-scale study with real data, can I find evidence that real-world things has some impact or not on people virtually in video games? And then for companies, what can we do with it? Right? Can we modify it? Can we increase it? Can we reduce it? What can we do? Right? The recent context is one of the most popular sports video games. I'm very sure many of you have played it, but because of data privacy, I cannot disclose the company's name. So the design. So we have individual level, each of you, individual level session data, right? I know when this, I don't know your name, of course, right? But I know this person logged in to the game at 8:03, played it until 9:05. That's what I know. Very detailed level data, national sample, right? And then we also have in-game purchase, every kind of behavior. Does a person play by themselves or working with a team, you know? And then that's the virtual data. Real data is from our own data collection. So in this sport, it's a sports video game, right? We collected almost 1,000 real games in the professional league of that sport. For each game, we know the time, of course, location, we know which teams are playing, we know scores, we know also some statistics, such as the number of highlights. That is, the highlights is coded by the league, right, to show, right, in this game, how many exciting moments there was. And we use those also to know attendance, everything. So our purpose in this research is to, as rigorous as possible, to infer causality. Because correlation, connection can happen anytime. But what is causing what? That's your tricky, right? So later I will hear some other methods to tease out causality. Here I'm using a modeling approach to find out the impacts of number of highlights. Today, let's say there are 10 highlights from the game, the real games. How does that impact people? Next day, video game play. Does that make sense? It's real and virtual, right? So what is number of highlights? Many of you, I think, play golf, right? This was last year, right? The first Masters went for Ferrari. That's his shot, right? On the 50th hole, very kind of a dramatic moment, right? And later on, of course, he choked and had to go through right, a one-hole kind of competition, but he won eventually. And then this was from this year, right? Messi's third goal against Algeria, I think, right? This is his first ever World Cup, right? Hat trick, you know. So those are the things qualified as highlight. Depending on the game, depending on sports, it's differently kind of like defined, but exciting moments. So the model we have is called a fixed effects model, logit, with instrument variables. You don't need to worry about this yet, right? Later on, you will have classes to learn how to do this. But what we're doing is to find out one of the drivers on the left side impacts the outcome, which is game playing in the virtual world, right? So what we found out is eventually, actually today, if you have professional sports going on, real games, the games have a larger number of highlights. The next day in the US, overall, people will be playing more video games in that sport, right? That is a big finding, actually. Even like people in EA, they never thought about it, right? So, and then we found out some other effects, which just the time reason I just skip those. So, how do we, as a researcher, we found this? What does this do for companies? So we turn around for companies like EA, right? Electronic Arts. We tell them, when you develop a game, when you promote a game, use real world events as a trigger. If one day the real world games exceed certain level of excitement, that's the moment you should do a special promotion, right? That's the finding, and they were quite excited about it, right? Okay, that's my quick presentation. I want to make sure we finish on time. Okay. Jess Avery, we're colleagues in marketing a long time, right? Jen got her PhD from Yale and in marketing, and she is a nationally well-known researcher on behavior side of marketing, right? Consumer science. Thank you, James.
Hey everybody, nice to meet you. As John said, I am a professor in the marketing department. I will actually have many of you, some of you, in the spring, so I look forward to getting to know you in more depth then. I'm here to give you not as exciting a topic as video games or sports or Marie's master's win. I'm here to talk a little bit about a topic that is not that fun, consumer credit card debt. And we study consumer credit card debt because we as researchers, we feel if we can understand it better, we need to do a job to design more interventions, to sort of help people get a hold of consumer credit card debt. This is a crisis in the United States, sort of globally. I think the numbers are even higher now, over $1.3 trillion in credit card debt. Enormous economic costs, right? Billions of dollars paid on fees. Beyond the economic costs, really sort of sad social costs to individuals who are suffering from the credit card debt. We have lots of research that shows physical and mental health suffer when you carry credit card debt. People delay important life events like getting an education, saving for a house. Even we're finding that people delay things like dating or getting married, having children, because they're suffering from credit card debt. So this is a really big problem. I have a student who is a fantastic student. Some of you actually may also take classes from him. He and I set out to try to understand a little bit about what is being done out there to help people with credit card debt. So this is a 30-second audience participation moment. What are some of the things that either the marketplace recommends or individuals are out there trying to do to improve the credit card debt crisis? So think for a second. Is the marketplace have suggestions, or individuals doing anything to improve credit card debt? Does anyone have any ideas for me? What's something that can be done? What's a recommendation? Anyone read the answer? Yeah.
Having low usage and paying off pretty often.
Paying it off more often and low usage, spending a little bit less on our credit cards, right? What are some other ideas? Yeah. Treat it like a debit card. Yeah, it's a really good one. Reframe that a little bit. What else? Yeah.
To avoid, like, if you have high balance on your credit card, to avoid like high interest, because sometimes like APR is like 30%. They like do monthly payments to add on top of your minimum payment, so you don't pay interest on that particular balance. So if like you did a thing that's like $600, instead of paying interest on that $600, they offer like paying for, and then every month you pay like on top of the minimum payment, and then like they just do like a $5 fee.
Right, so the marketplace is trying to come up with solutions or with ideas out there. A lot of those are predatory, so watch out. So be very, very careful. Any other marketplace solutions when we're on the marketplace? What is the market sort of trying to sell consumers? Yeah. Debt consolidation, thank you. Yes, so the number one solution that they're out there selling people is something called debt consolidation. It's I looked it up today. It's a global $47 billion industry as of last year to consolidate people's debt. Now, debt consolidation, you might think when you hear this that this is about reducing the total balance or changing your APR, but in practice that doesn't actually happen. And there's actually reason to believe, there's some research that shows, because of loan origination fees and because of the change in timeline, people may actually end up owing more through debt consolidation. So what happens in practice? What debt consolidation really is about restructuring your debt. So we go from having multiple debts into having one debt. And part of what the industry is saying is that this relieves some of that anxiety. Relieves some of the pressure of having multiple bills to pay and mental challenges of knowing when the payments are due. And indeed, that's true. People do feel less anxious when they consolidate their debt, a little bit less anxious. And what does that look like in practice? It looks like, so it looks something like this. It looks like the person on the over here has what we're going to call dispersed credit balance, and the person over here has concentrated credit balance. Okay? And there's other ways other than debt consolidation to have these different debt structures. For instance, some people just prefer to spend on one card. Maybe one card offers rewards, or people have engaged in something called snowball repayment. I think we alluded to that a little bit, where they pay down their debt into one credit card. So you can get to a concentrated debt structure a few different ways. And in our research, we're actually agnostic to how you arrive here. Whether you arrive here through consolidation or through payment, it doesn't matter to us. What matters to us, and our fundamental research question, is whether your structure of your debt affects subsequent behavior. Right? So that's our fundamental research question. And I mentioned it does make you feel a little bit better, and we kind of already knew that. But what we don't know, the question that has kind of not been explored rigorously, is the effect that this sort of debt structure might have on your subsequent spending. Right, so hopefully we have that, we want to sort of structure it in such a way that improves our financial situation. One of the things we hope is that it actually would reduce our discretionary spending. And so we hope that people taking these steps are being more responsible about their behavior. Well, I'm an experimentalist, so different than Jan and Jayanthi. I actually when I have a hypothesis, when I have a research question like this, what I do is I formulate the hypothesis, and I go out and I recruit participants, and I randomly assign them to conditions, and I measure their behavior. So this is kind of like maybe some of us took Psych 101 back in undergrad, right? That's the kind of research that I primarily do. So that's exactly what I did. Holding constant all of the aspects of somebody's financial situation and their debt. So how much debt, the amount, and their credit limit. Holding those things constant. And just showing them their debt structured in a consolidated manner versus a concentrated manner, a dispersed manner versus a concentrated manner affects them. Okay, so my student ran a bunch of experiments, more than 10 pre-registered experiments. And what we consistently find is that concentrating your debt actually increases your likelihood of spending. So people spend more when they have this consolidated debt. So all of those people who are out there spending all this time and energy to get in that better place financially might actually be putting themselves in a situation that increases spending over time. We ran this with students, we ran this with adults, we ran this in what we call consequential choice, hypothetical choice, and with lots of different measures. And that outcome is pretty upsetting if you're a policymaker out there hoping that consolidation is going to improve people's financial situation. So I am an experimentalist, and so we sort of do all the tricks and all the things that we learn in our PhD program to make sure that this holds really robustly. But we also want to look and make sure this holds in real data. So we also have 2 secondary data sets, one from the Federal Reserve and one from a company in Europe, and we replicate this pattern in that real data. It's called archival analysis of secondary data sets. And using this Federal Reserve data set, actually many years, many of you weren't born when some of this data was initially collected, we showed that this holds even in real behavior. Right? So this is a pretty big question. After we establish this basic finding, as an experimentalist, we often want to find out, discover why this is happening. We call that a psychological mechanism. And the psychological mechanism that we've identified for this is that when people have concentrated debt, remember it makes you feel a little bit better? That's true. People look at their debt and they say, well, this feels organized, it feels simple, it feels like I have a little bit more control over my finances. That actually translates into something called illusionary financial control, right? 1 minute, yep. So people feel that they're in control of their finances, they feel more competent, more responsible. This ends up increasing their willingness to spend, right? I'm in control, I got this. I can go out and I can spend a little more on takeout. So this is what we call backfire effect. So what are our implications from a practical perspective for policymakers, for companies trying to help people control their finances? Concentrating our debt might not be the best idea. From a theoretical perspective, we've learned some new drivers of financial decision making that we sort of didn't have out there. And hopefully as theorists, that will help us start to understand one of the reasons that people continue to spend in the face of this crushing debt, and maybe we can design some interventions to improve the situation. Thanks guys for your time.